What's up, everybody? Remington from Impulse Creative, and today we're going to do a deep dive into Driftbot for help and the new features that Drift just launched to allow for your support teams to be fully automated within Drift and not take away from sales. So Driftbot has a lot of helpful abilities, and most of those abilities in the past have been around sales and marketing. So when we look at the features that Drift released a few months ago, Drift released Drift Help. And it was essentially a knowledge base that was included in all the plans, and it was available for you to start indexing all of your help documents. So as we get into this tutorial, that is one of the things that are necessary for a majority of this to work today. But the good news is it's super easy to set up. We're going to go deep into how all this works from a workflow perspective, and we're using one of the help docs that Drift has themselves. And then what I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to show you how this actually works on a day-to-day basis when you got to set it up in your own playbooks. So the first example we have is essentially the same flow that came out with the welcome message allowing for article lookup a few months ago when Drift Help was released. Now it's actually a bot skill that you can implement into your current playbooks if you want to route to support, for instance. As we're doing that, you've got a couple different things to consider. This flow is just going to show and recommend articles. It's not actually going to route to creating tickets or anything like that in the future. So when we look at how it works, essentially what happens is we ask how we can help. The visitor is going to enter text, which essentially is going to come through as like a search query. The Driftbot is going to respond back with a few articles that might be helpful, and there'll be hyperlinks that they can go to. The user can say this is awesome or this is not awesome. If it is awesome, it finishes. If it isn't awesome, then we don't really have a next flow. Now, this is just for the article lookup. If they enter text and nothing produces a result, then we go through a flow. It says, sorry, we can't find anything. So if you have a really extensive knowledge base that you've built out in Drift Help, then you are 100% okay with this typical flow because of where everything goes. But in a lot of cases, you may not have all the answers that your prospects are looking for. The next step is going into the actual ticket creation process that has just been released. And again, this is another skill called ticket creation. And I'll show you where that is in Playbooks in a little bit here. But essentially, when the bot starts, there's two options here. One is we already know your email address in Drift. The other is we don't. And as it goes through, we're going to ask for the email address. We're going to ask them to provide a short description of their question. They're going to enter their question. And what we're going to do is create a ticket labeled with their question and allow for them to add any additional content, change the subject of the ticket, and then they could say, yes, create it, or no, I don't have anything to add. As you go through and do that, we could ask them what they want to change the ticket to. And of course, that would go back through kind of a loop and asking the same questions. And if they say yes, it would also drive in for some further description. So a real life example is I need help with my website could be the first time that they fill out the ticket subject. But then once they realize that that's all it says, they could probably say, I need help with my website. My pages aren't loading, or something more specific. So once it goes through, we ask them if they have anything else. And essentially what it's going to do is the ticket system is going to connect to your other ticketing systems or send a forwarding message to your support inboxes with all of the information that has been recorded. The information that's passed along is about 30 lines of the chat sequence. And so that can be a really great way to get some good intel about what's going on. Now, when we think of what the flow is, if the email is unknown, it's essentially a lot of the same thing that we just talked about, except it's going to go through and ask for their email address like the email skill typically does on a day-to-day basis. And now in this example, we have not only the ticket creation, but we also have the article lookup. And this skill is a combination of both. So what's awesome about this is really solving a problem where in the first example I showed you where it was just the support lookup, in some cases those articles might not be available. in this example, if the article isn't available, it is going to go ahead and ask if you want to open a support ticket. So it's a very natural flow for someone saying, "Oh, you don't have what I want," and rather than telling them to go somewhere to fill out a support ticket, now we can actually drive some more engagement. So when you see here, ask how we can help, the visitor enters the free text, says, "We found some articles that might be helpful," just like I had showed you before. If they say no, then that is when it flows into creating a support ticket using the information that was above, just like I had showed you. So if they have a different question, we can try going back through the loop of the articles that are helpful. And of course, if the information doesn't exist and there are no articles that are relevant, it would pass through to that ticket sequence as well. So then the ticket sequence is going to come through exactly like I just showed you in the second example, and it's going to ask who they are, what they are looking for, if it doesn't have any of the information. The end result is this flow, when you have both the ticket creation and the article lookup side by side, is a very natural way of supporting people in a fluid way. And what I mean by that is you can go through and ask questions, and a lot of this is going to mimic how you would support someone on the phone, right? So if you picked up the phone and you had a support rep answering and asking questions, they're going to be keying in or looking this information up, whether it's in their brain or on the computer, and they're going to be providing some resources or helpfulness. And if they don't have an answer, that's when they're going to escalate that ticket. And what's cool is Drift for Help is already setting up this for us so that you don't have to have a support person that is fully dedicated to Drift. And this will take all the conversations away from sales where they don't have to be supporting people as much. All right, so now the how-to. What we're going to do is we're going to jump in and we're going to first set up in the settings what we need to do, and then we're going to go into an actual playbook. So as we go to your settings, you're going to go to the little gear off to the left. You're going to click Driftbot under App Settings, and that's going to take you to this page. As you scroll down, you'll have Help, and you'll see Article Lookup and Ticket Creation. When you click this, you are going to have the Driftbot, a place where you're going to surface the articles from. And so you have Drift Help, which is essentially the knowledge-based article, and that Drift Help is over here off to the left if you haven't jumped into that part of the tool. If you want to connect a different knowledge base, you can set up different knowledge bases that are connected, Zendesk or Help Scout and that kind of thing. And you can enable Driftbot to automatically share articles when someone responds to your welcome message. And then we have the ticket creation settings. So Driftbot will create tickets using none, right? So essentially you've got three options. You've got none, you've got email, and you've got Zendesk. So if you want these tickets to be passed through, what you're going to want to do is set this up for email, and then you need to take your current system and you need to figure out what the support email is. If you have HubSpot support tools, or you have Teamwork Desk, or you have any of these other tools, many of these tools will allow forwarding email addresses where you as a support rep can forward a message that you receive from someone and it'll create an official ticket. This would work the exact same way. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to put the support email in here, and once you do that, then you will be able to send this information off automatically. So once you have these settings turned on, then what you're going to do is you're going to jump over to a playbook. Now in the playbook, I'm using a Have More Qualifications default playbook here. And by default, this has Want to Talk to Sales, Just Browsing. And what we've done is we've added a button for Need Support. So when you want to add your support and ticket options, you go over here to Add New in the top right, and you'll see that there are three options here. We've got Help Article Lookup, which was the first example that I showed you. We've got Help the Ticket Creation. It's just going to create a ticket. And then we have the Help Article Lookup and Ticket Creation. So for the sake of this example, I'm going to use this skill. So once you do that, you're going to want to drag the skill up to where it makes sense. Now that we've dragged it up to question 2, it'll be a lot easier to see where the routing goes. But what we would want to do is we would want to make Talk to Sales go to the next question, which would be to question number 3 instead of the support one. We'd want to let Just Browsing go through to Bad Lead like it normally does, or wherever you would send a bad lead normally. And then we have Need Support, and Need Support we are going to have go to the number 2 skill. So once it goes to the skill, then you've got options to click in here to actually set up the follow-ups. You can choose to update your information here in regards to the question you would ask if someone wants some help. And then what you can do is you've got two different options that are going to be handled. So it is going to do the article lookup automatically. And then of course it has the ticket creation, just like the flow that I was talking about before. So once you hit save there, now that information is going to be up at the top. And if it helps them, it's going to end the bot flow. And if it unsuccessfully helps them, it's going to end the bot flow as well, because both of those routes would lead to either a ticket or a support article. So now what you've done is, if we were to preview this, you would have your need support is going to take you through to the skill. And then your wanting to talk to sales is going to pass you around to the normal sales flow. And now you've got an option to start pulling people off to the side for support. So once you're done there, you hit save, and you should be able to go and check your support modules on the front end. And from there, you're off to the races. So that's it for today's tutorial. If you have any questions about Driftbot for help, or Drift, or conversational marketing in general, please feel free to reach out to me at Remington Begg on Twitter. If you would like to see other tutorials we've done, you can go ahead and you can do that here. If you would like to subscribe to these daily tutorials, you can go ahead and do that right here. But until next time, I'm Remington from Impulse Creative. Have a great day.